What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of El Jardín Perdido. Today we're doing a Hurricane Beryl walkthrough. Okay, we're a little more than 2 weeks after the hurricane. I've been a little out of commission, no power for a week, being nomadic with my children. And while I had cleaned up a little around the yard, I did want to go around and show you guys a little. And the fact that I didn't really do a summer update, I've been kind of out of things, but I'm trying to jump back in with you guys. I have been growing, things have been thriving pretty well. A few little setbacks. One thing of the hurricane was things got very saturated, and then followed that by really heavy winds. So I did have to prop up a few trees. For the most part, everything's pretty intact, but we're gonna walk around a little bit and I'm gonna show you guys things I'll be working on as I kind of revamp around here. One of the bigger things that got affected, that I've showed you guys in a few previous videos, but I have a living arbor here. And basically a majority of it kind of shifted in. I've since propped it up with a 2x4 I found in someone's trash. Everyone's putting trees out right now and stuff. It was about down to here, and I'd literally have to like crawl under this arbor, which defeats the whole purpose. I'll bring you guys in a second, but parts are being fused together now like I ideally wanted. So it was in the perfect place and it's all kind of shifted over. When this other side grows in, it'll have a little more stability once I fuse those together, but let me show you guys. So yeah, we have some really nice fusion happening. Some of that was because I've had to bind things together, but you know, it's getting a lot of stability. One thing I didn't anticipate was the actual whole tree shifting because the ground got so saturated, heavy winds. So what I plan on doing with this is taking off some of the top weight. The canopy's kind of neat, but it's kind of overkill right now. So if we take off some of that top weight, I'm gonna try to prop this back a little more. And since I have layers of branching here, I'll probably take out some of the lower layers. Right now I can kind of walk through. And while I'm over here, you can see it from the other side. I mean, it's still kind of there. I just need to kind of fine tune it, but you can see that amount of weight on top isn't helping what's going on here. So I'm gonna take a bunch of that out. Aside from that, my Texas lilac, chase tree, I need to do some pruning on that. A lot of things got kind of twisted around and stuff, and the winds were sustained for so long that some of them kind of kept like that. Pomegranate got knocked forward quite a bit, so I've since staked it and it seems to be doing well. Hurricane did not take out this awesome pomegranate. This was actually grown from seed, so it does great with our native climate because it's kind of adapted in that way. And we have still flowering, things are pretty well. Aside from that, in the front, everything's pretty good, intact. I'm gonna have to work on my cassava. See, this is a lot of what's been happening. Things got uprooted. It's still fine, but I'm probably gonna prune this back and kind of stake it down. My fence back here blew over and fell on my Mulberry, and I'm going to have to reinforce that at some point. So yeah, not a crazy amount of damage, at least in the front. The back's not too bad either. There's a few little things that I'll be working on. I'll go ahead and show you that, but for the most part, everything's pretty good. I did lose a lot of fruit. I have a jujube both in the front and the back, which a lot of fruit got blown off of. I'll show you in a second. There's a persimmon back there. It's still hanging on to a good amount of fruit, but I salvaged some of the fruit that had fallen. And the ground, you know, I've told you guys we have heavy clay here. The ground seems to be at kind of a homeostasis now. It's not crazy saturated like it was. I was sloshing through everything. I plan on doing a little landscaping today and kind of remulching things and pulling some weeds and getting the grass cut down. Another crazy part about this weather system is I brought a crap ton of not only mosquitoes, but they're similar to fleas. They're called springtails. The yard's been pretty heavy with those too. So I'm gonna put down some granules. They're all natural. I don't love doing that for the microbiology, but it's pretty much just kind of mint smells and cedar smells that keep certain pests away. All right, so as we make our way in the back here, I don't know if you guys can tell on camera, but one thing I just noticed today was this Pakistan mulberry. It's pretty top heavy, it's pretty up there. I'd say it's about 30 feet. It's got a good trunk and such, but it's pretty high. I believe this was a grafted tree, so it's not dwarf. It was grafted from just a regular native mulberry. But yeah, it's leaning a little bit towards my neighbor's house. So at some point, it's slightly uprooted. I'll show you guys in a sec. But at some point, I'm gonna have to heavily prune the canopy on this one. It'll bounce back fine. Another thing that I'm debating on doing is taking that out completely, grafting it onto another one, because I do have a nice pawpaw that's probably getting ready for some more sunlight. I had it next to the mulberry simply so that I could get established under heavy canopy, because that's how they like to grow. But I think it's paid its dues now, and I can probably move on without it. So yeah, as you guys can see, it's kind of lifted up here. It's kind of leaning at, I'd say, like 10 degrees, but it's just enough for me to, yeah, want to keep an eye on this for next time. As for the pawpaw, it was leaning quite a bit. I had to kind of, well, it's not really staked, but I did push it back and kind of correct it. I had to do that with a lot of my seedlings. Same went for this pawpaw. I've since staked it. Most of my trees are pretty good. I still have a generator here that ironically, I went like, I don't know, I drove 30 minutes out to Clear Lake. Someone lent me a generator and the thing wouldn't even kick on. So that was fun. While I'm back here, I'm just kind of going over some tidbits that didn't pertain to the hurricane, but some things I'd like to address. I believe this is Seminole pumpkins, or perhaps a hybrid, because I did have Seminole pumpkins and traditional jack-o'-lantern pumpkins that I've gotten some hybrids from. I don't know, this self-seeded, so I'm not sure whose seeds fell here, but I got to cut this back a little bit. I have kind of a succulent and bamboo area here, and it's starting to take over a little much. So yeah, this area tends to get saturated. So the vine roots in here, and it is, you know, taking up some of that water, which is good, but it's just getting a little out of hand. Also some self-seeding gourds. I need to trellis these. I was thinking of trellising them on my pergola here, give myself some shade. That'll be cool, but they're long enough now that I can kind of trellis them up there. That'll be cool. I have a few things like this lamb's quarter is just, you know, some of that was wind, some of it's just trying to find sunlight. But yeah, I'd like to cut that out of there so I can get in my shed. Over in the chicken area, this mulberry I purposely pruned for shade, and it makes a nice canopy into this area. The chickens love it. They're protected, they have shade, it's great. But the wind kind of exaggerated how I had been pruning it. And so, yeah, instead of having to crouch down under there, you can see there's only like, you know, 4 feet of space right there, headroom. I'm gonna go ahead and prune that accordingly so that, yeah, chickens have some shade, but I can also get back there. This bamboo was kind of arched over this way. It still is a little bit, but that got tousled around pretty good. I'm probably gonna have to give that a trim. But we are getting some nice shoots from all that flood water. This is another, this is like a fig. It kind of did its own thing. I didn't purposely make it arch like this, but I've got a cherry fruit and a fig And this arch needs to get trimmed a little bit because I have to duck down to get it in here. This guava that came back from the winter got tousled around quite a bit. I was gonna prune that up and kind of, you know, stake it where I had to. It's kind of twisted up. I don't know if you guys can see that all right on camera, but the jujube, I think this is a live jujube, but it's leaning. I'm sure you can see that on camera. My camera is completely level, and it's, I'd say that's like a 30-degree. And if you guys know jujubes, they're pretty thorny. And so I have a lot of low-hanging branches in my path here. This is all cleared out now. Makes the peach happy. But I'm gonna have to take, I was debating how to approach this, but I think what I'm gonna do is let it lean a little bit, maybe take off this secondary trunk, and that way it's kind of going straight up. And then from there I can start pruning some of the lower branches. It's already put off its fruit this year. We've got a few hanging on, but since it's done, I'm gonna prune that back. The peach here is thriving pretty well, and what I'm gonna do with that is, well, it's kind of staked, but I should stake it a little better because it's a seed. It's not necessarily a seedling, but it's, you know, pretty young. It's about a year or two old, and I just put it in the ground, so I just kind of need to shift that around a little bit. My poor bees, I'm getting into them today. We are chock full in there, and so that's pretty heavy. Basically, they were on with the quail here, an old planter bed that's essentially rotted away. I have these cinder blocks because I'm gonna make that, I'm gonna use those to prop it up somewhere else, probably in the shade under this big old fig tree. Here's another angle of that mulberry. Yeah, it's just top heavy in the wrong places, so just a trim is all that needs. These papaya that self-seeded, they were all slown about. I didn't really have to stake too many of them, but I did have to kind of stomp down some of the dirt and kind of prop them up right. This one got staked. Still have a little bit of a path here. The pumpkin is taking over back here, but in all the right places. It's basically a living mulch, and as long as it's not suffocating anything, I may have to cut it back a little if it tries to climb things, but I mean, it just wants to follow the natural place where I'd usually mulch. And yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's doing great. Persimmon, you can see a few, actually that's a dead branch from another tree. But the persimmon is hanging on well, hanging on to a few more fruit. You can see it looks a little rough, probably because it got oversaturated and maybe some wind damage. You can see a lot of pest damage to it. So it just needs to breathe a little bit. Might give it a little prune too. And while I'm here, I'm gonna grab some elderberries. But yeah, all in all, aside from the mess and stuff from barbecuing and stuff with the power out, the yard's in pretty good shape. It just needs a little maintenance and guidance. All right guys, I know that was a pretty quick run through, but really I just wanted to update you guys on how things are going. The garden's pretty much thriving. It just needs a little guidance. I know I've been a little out of the loop with videos, a couple of life things that I won't go into, but these things happen. I just wanted to make an update, let you guys know that I'm surviving and doing well, and I do plan on being a little more consistent with updating you guys on what's going on in the garden, as well as guiding you through tutorials. If this is your first time tuning in, consider subscribing. It does help the algorithm. Also, I'm quick to respond to comments, so if you guys have anything to add to this, feel free to put those down and I'll respond as soon as I can. All right guys, well that's gonna do it for today's video. As always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.